All right, we're gonna call this meeting to order. I'd like to go through and introduce the select board. My name's Eric McGowan, I'm the chair.
I'm Fletcher Proctor, I'm the clerk.
Bex Slattery.
I'm Peg Alden, I'm the vice chair, is that what it's called?
Yes.
Yeah.
I can't hear you.
Oh, I'm Peg Alden, I'm the vice chair.
I'm Eileen Tellick, I'm a select board member.
And I'm Karen Astley, town manager.
All right, and our town moderator this year, Meg Mott.
Hello, everybody. I hope you can hear me, because it looks like we don't have mics in the room. Do you want to explain what you want today, or tell me when you want me to take it away?
No, go right ahead, it's all yours.
Good morning, everybody. Thank you for coming to the Select Board's information session. The Select Board set this up, and my job is mainly just to make sure everybody has a chance to ask the questions they want to ask. We're not making any decisions today. This is not even a mock trial. I'm not going to try my motions or my subsidiary motions or my privilege motions or my incidental motions. We don't have to worry about that today. It's really an opportunity for you all to ask questions and to find out what different perspectives might be on the articles. So the way we've done this in the past is I'm going to just read the article and then open it up to questions. The first article, however, the first few, we'll see. People may have some questions. Article 1, shall the voters of the town of Putney elect the following Putney town officers as required by law for the ensuing year by Australian ballot? The Select Board has a 3-year term, Select Board 2-year term, Town Moderator 1-year term, Lister 3-year term, Cemetery Commissioner 3-year term, WSESD School Board Member 3-year term. Does anybody have any questions that has to do with any of Article 1? Mr. Fairman.
Thank you, Madam Moderator. There is one contested election, which is a 2-year select board seat. The candidates are Fletcher Proctor and Logan Sears. May we please hear briefly from each candidate?
Absolutely. Fletcher?
Well, as Mr. Fairman said, I'm the incumbent, and so you've got a 2-year track record on me, and plenty of videotape of meetings to go through if you really want to see how I behaved. But, I mean, basically I'm on the select board because I really believe in participatory democracy. And this is like where the rubber meets the road. This is the bottom layer of government. And I believe strongly that the bottom layer of government needs people who believe strongly in government. The qualifications I bring to the office are that I'm an attorney. I'm still practicing, although just winding up a practice, but still licensed to practice. But I think those skills have been useful on the board. Recently, I've focused a lot on going through the town ordinances and policies and trying to tidy them up because some of them date from the 1970s, so they're really a little chaotic. But I think the board's been doing a pretty good job of picking away at that, and if I remain on the board, I would hope to continue with that.
Great, thank you. Logan, would you be willing to come forward? That way the camera person for the audience online. Yeah.
I'm Logan Sears. I grew up in Sharon, Vermont, which is up near White River Junction. I attended University of Maine in Orono, got a degree in forest operations, and I've been in this area now for about 15 years, working for a logging and forest management company out of Westminster. I've lived in Putney for, I think it's right around 14 years, and I currently live on Leon Wood Road. Gene and Marty Litch's old house, if anyone knows who they were. But I, growing up, my dad was, really involved in the town. I don't think he ever joined the select board, probably for, trying to stay out of the spotlight. But anyways, I was kind of raised with that kind of involvement. And I've reached a point in my life where I would like to get back to the town and be involved and be a part of the decisions being made and learn more about what's going on. And so I want to take this opportunity and try to contribute as much as I can.
Can you add that you're on the fire department?
I am. I'm on the fire department.
Association?
Yep.
The association, you're president?
I'm president of the Firefighters Association as well. Yep. Been on the fire department about 2 years, just shy of 2 years. I joined at the restart of the department, so.
Great.
Great,
Thank you.
excellent. Thank you for those answers. Thank you for that question. Anything else, questions about Article 1? Yes, Ruby.
Hi, I'm Ruby McAdoo. I am running unopposed for the school board from Putney. I wanted to just make a slight correction. There are a few other contested elections that, just to be really, really clear, we as Putney voters vote on all of the town designees for the school board. And there are contested elections for Brattleboro. We have one of the candidates here, Kim Price, and for Dummerston. And those are on your ballot. There was a BCTV host and the Reformer and the Commons hosted a forum that you can find on their YouTube channel just last week, and that is probably the best way that you can learn more about those candidates. I'm Logan's neighbor, and he's a great neighbor, if anyone was wondering.
Any other questions about Article 1? Anybody who hasn't spoken on Article 1? Howard Fairman.
Madam Moderator, I just would like to clarify that the reason I did not mention the candidate for school director is not because of any disrespect. It is simply because this is a meeting about this is a meeting about town meeting, not about the school district meeting that's coming up, I believe, on the 17th of March.
Any other questions about Article 1? No, okay. Oh, yes.
I'm just wondering if is the ballot somewhere where we can see it?
These are the things.
It's in the book, right? Did we put it in the book?
It's definitely on, there's a sample ballot online on the town clerk's
Yeah,
page.
Thank you.
yeah. Normally we put it in the town report, but not this year.
And Lauren.
Are there extra town reports here that, if I didn't bring mine, I could look at?
I have a couple. I will share with you then.
Thank you.
Any other questions on Article 1? Otherwise, we're going to move to Article 2 and see if there's any questions on Article 2. Shall the voters of the town of Putney elect 4 trustees to the Putney Public Library Board from the floor? That's something that happens during town meeting. Any questions about Article 2? Names to be produced at town meeting day. Article 3 is to hear the reports of the town officers. If you have your report with you, now Ben has his, so that's very happy. You can look on page 10 and you'll see, starting there, all the reports of the town officers. Any questions on Article 3? Well, let's move on then to Article 4. Shall the voters of the town of Putney authorize highway fund expenditures of $1,201,517.46, of which $1,053,667.46 shall be raised by taxes, and $147,850 by non-tax revenues for the fiscal year beginning July 1st, 2026 and ending June 30th, 2027. You can find the budget for the highway beginning on page 37, and notes on that budget are on page 39. Does anybody have any questions about the highway budget? Howard Fairman.
This perhaps, Madam Moderator, is a question for our town manager. Could you explain what non-tax revenues are?
So, before I do that, I just want to say, the town report, it takes a time and energy to put something like this together. It does have some added features, like these colorful graphs. And I want to thank Rachel Ryan. Rachel helps out with collecting all the agency reports and funneling those to Kim. But Kim Monroe has been perfecting this town report, and she does well with spreadsheets and has gotten into the graphics. So I want to thank both Rachel Ryan and Kim Monroe for doing an excellent job on this year's town report.
Karen, can you answer that question about the 147,000 by non-tax revenues?
Yes.
Or does Fletcher want to answer that question?
It is their meeting.
Fletcher.
If you look on page 37, that's the revenue page for the highway department. And the top section is property taxes. Everything below that is the non-tax revenue. So intergovernmental grants, department revenue, Edwald Fund, those, if you take those out, you get back to the 147 that you see in your town report.
Any other questions about Article 4? Yes, Michael?
I have a question. At the town highway department are the ones that take care of keeping the sidewalks clean in the wintertime?
That is correct.
If we allow more money for the highway department, could we get the sidewalks sanded so that they're not as icy as?
Yeah, so the policy is to get town roads done first and then sidewalks. And we've had back-to-back storms, and we get out there as quick as we can.
Yes.
So we do have a department of 5 people. So, yeah, it's been hard. And, you know, then the state, you know, likes to plow their snow on our clean sidewalks, and then we have to, you know, get that sidewalk machine. So that sidewalk machine goes from the town garage all the way up to Route 5, and then we start doing the sidewalk. So I know it's been kind of hard, and we do our best to get out there as quick as possible. But with these back-to-back storms, and the small storms are the worst, because even with like an inch of snow, we still have to maintain those sidewalks.
I had a hand in the back, Mike Perwicki.
Thank you. I just want to hope we can, today at town meeting, minute our appreciation for our road crew. This has been one heck of a winter.
Yes.
It's an old-fashioned hard winter, one storm after another. And they have been out in all of it, and I hope we can appreciate the work that they've done, because I sure do. And I hope as a town, we can recognize what they've been doing to take care of the roads for us.
Yeah, I'd like to follow up on the sidewalk situation, because when we moved here, back then, the sidewalks, especially our sidewalk, which is Kimball Hill Road, it was definitely in disrepair and somewhat of a hazard for people. It's something that I've talked to Karen about over the years, and I was hearing about a policy that she was working on several years ago I really haven't seen any improvement with the sidewalks, and we're a fairly conscientious population in terms of trying to limit our carbon footprint and have a walkable community to increase our unity as a community. And so it seems to me that what we need is to take a step back and to actually look at our sidewalks as a real resource for the town and come up with an actual plan so that we can make sure that the quality of the sidewalks are really meeting the needs of everyone, and rather than pointing to a particularly hard winter or something like that. In the absence of planning, we're always going to find ourselves on our back foot in terms of what's going on with the sidewalks. So it's something that was important to me when I first moved here, and I really haven't seen it improve. And I really think that sidewalks, having a walkable community, is a high priority for this community, and I'd like to see us do more on that.
Great. I think I saw several hands up. Lisa and then Ruby, it looks like.
Yeah, Lisa Mathazian. Could you just explain what the Edwald Fund is, what it's supposed to do, and is it used in more than just the highway fund?
So it is a trust fund that was left to the town with certain criteria. So the highway department, the general fund, and the library, depending on the interest, and we have to gauge that every year, Lisa. Since I've been in office, it ranges from $12,000 to $15,000, and it's split 3 ways. And that is, the arrangement for that money. So only the interest is able to be allocated, and, it's up and down, but.
Thank you.
What were the 3 again? What were the 3? Highway, library?
And general fund.
Okay, thanks.
And you're gonna find that in the revenue sections of each budget.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Ruby had her hand up, and then Janice.
So I'm putting on my hat of the coordinator at Putney Community Cares. So I wanted to let you know, and Karen, you haven't seen yet, but we led a walk audit that the town participated in. Karen was there, there are some other town officials who were there also. And we just got the report of that.
Oh, nice.
And that walk audit is kind of the beginning of thinking about walkability in the downtown area. And so it's not entirely only about the condition of the sidewalk, it also has to do with crosswalks and intersections and other, benches, things like that.
Signage.
So we got that, and our intention is there are some grants that the deadline is
Next
Tomorrow.
week.
Right. So our intention is to move forward with taking that report that we just got and assembling kind of a plan that might involve feasibility studies and about change and possibly some temporary traffic calming measures. And that will be something that Putney Community Cares does in conjunction with the town. It will be a collaboration, a partnership. So I just wanted to raise that here. That I think what Lionel said is true, and I think the town has not lost sight of this need at all. And but sometimes I think it's hard to see movement, especially when it's glacial with reports.
Janice, and then to Sue.
So my comment isn't about sidewalks. I just, a lot of these terms come up, and I really just want to bring people's attention to this financial supplement, which normally I wouldn't look at because it would be just charts and lots of numbers, but it isn't this year. It's in big type. There's really good layman's language explaining what these revenue things are and non-revenue and all that. It's really, really helpful.
Great. Sue. Yeah.
Just two things about sidewalks, big picture, and near-term improvements. The Planning Commission has been working for a few years now to create a safe crossing at Southern Main Street. And we have a V-Trans grant to actually do it. It's federal funding, takes a long time, but it's underway. The project is being designed and we'll be talking with the community more. It will take longer than we want it to because of the federal requirements, but there's some more information over here, happy to talk to people. But there is planning going on, and the other planning that I will invite everybody to is that we'll be kicking off next month a comprehensive village plan. And that will look at walkways, bikeability, pedestrian. And so it will be another updated view of what we need, what we want. And I think that will make it grant ready. That's one of the important things about it. So I invite the whole community to participate, and we'll be having many opportunities for visioning together as a community. So there's opportunities for planning, updated planning coming.
Any other questions in the back? Mary?
Yeah, I just want to go back
sorry,
to
Michael.
Michael.
I bypassed Eileen just to put it on it. I was looking at the.
We hear from you all the time.
I can hear the floor, and I want the room to recognize that Eileen is being very patient, and I went to Eileen after Mary. So Mary, please continue.
Yeah, keep in mind, I'm not gonna be at town meeting on Tuesday, so I have to get everything out right now.
Right.
So I just wanted to point out that a couple of years, I think it wasn't last year, it was the year before, we actually corrected the language for the sidewalk fund so that we could use it for maintenance. Because there was a legal hitch in there that didn't specify maintenance. And I also wanted to say that a lot of the issue, we've heard a lot about traffic safety and walkability and pedestrian safety in particular, more in the downtown area than up over towards PCS, which I recognize that sidewalk is definitely deteriorating. But the main issue that we have right now, or the limitation we have, is that's a state highway, right? So the state doesn't allow us to do things, simple things like put in a crosswalk from the bank to the library without going through major hoops.
Right.
I believe that the legislature is either working on or is being pushed to work on making it easier for towns to take over portions of the road so that we would be able to put in traffic calming and crosswalks and sidewalks and roundabouts and signage and all that stuff. So speak to Mike about encouraging that part of the legislation.
Okay, great, thank you. Mary, I'm sorry that you got stopped.
Thank you, Riley. Just going back to Michael's comment about sidewalk sanding, there are problematic areas on the sidewalks, and they could be just identified, and particularly on Kimball Hill, it's quite dangerous. You can't even go into the roadway because you're on the roadway as soon as you go off of the sidewalk, and you have to go off the sidewalk to walk there at many times in the year when it freezes. So even if some places can be identified, it doesn't have to be the entire sidewalk system of the town. It could be just areas that are really problematic. So I know that that has been an area that has been brought up again and again and again. If that's at least in terms of, I mean, it doesn't really have to do with town meeting, but it has to do with addressing Michael's comment about standing, and that's all that would be needed would be standing.
Ben?
I just had a quick question about that crosswalk. Is that going to be at the library across to the places where people park in front of the bank?
That was the plan. It was originally built as a sidewalk to Putney Landing, and the original plan actually had an actual sidewalk on Depot Road all the way to the back part of that access road. It has been modified since then for a lot of community engagement and input to be a walkway between the banks, with one landing being on Depot Road, Old Depot Road, and the other one being somewhere next, opposite the library, and then there would be a crosswalk there,
Awesome.
is the idea.
With flashing
With
lights.
flashing lights.
Oh, excellent. Fancy.
Yeah.
So we're still on Article 4, the Highway Fund. Karen, did you want to say anything? And I'm going to be a little bit of a timekeeper here because
Sure.
this is a 2-hour information.
All I wanted to say is on page 45 of your town report, fund balances. Lionel, you'll see in there is a sidewalk reserve fund. And as of July 1st, 2025, there's $100,000 in that fund. So we recognize that sidewalks are a part of the highway department, and we will be like doing a full inventory with conditions through the comprehensive village plan and just for, for safety. I mean, it has to be done, so. It's on the front burner, Lionel.
Okay, Howard.
Madam Moderator, I walk all the Putney sidewalks almost every day, and I'll offer a couple of considerations. One is try walking the sidewalks in Brattleboro. That is like walking on rough ground in the woods, with which I am familiar. Putney sidewalks are much better than that. Kimball Hill, the gentleman is right, needs work. Now what's interesting is we have the money to do the work, but I've been walking that sidewalk for years and the repairs never get done. Now it's simply a matter of putting it on someone's to-do list and repair the, whatever you call them, sections of sidewalk that are broken. It definitely is not rocket science. I will also add, though, concerning the conditions of the sidewalks, that it varies not only day by day, even if it didn't snow, it also varies hour by hour. As things warm up and cool down, the ice goes away and then it comes back. And it's something that we older folks have to be really careful about, so yes, I pay close attention to that. Finally, concerning the crosswalk from between the banks over to the library, I'm wondering if there's some way to expedite this, and here is why. Some years ago, let's see, it was 2019, the Reformer began covering the story about people getting killed on Putney Road down in Brattleboro because there were no crosswalks. I was one of the people who helped get the crosswalk in front of Hannaford, and also the warning signs just at the upper end of the goat path there by Top of the Hill Grill, as it used to be. It took us a year. Now, basically what we did, AOT said we'll do it when we get around to it, when we rebuild Putney Road someday. And we said that's not good enough, and as I say, within a year they were there. So I know it can be expedited. Now, on the other hand, I know that the people working on this are excellent. So I'm simply raising the question. I'm not in any way questioning their abilities, but is there a way we can expedite this so we build this crosswalk this summer?
No, that's not happening.
Why?
It's just the state
It's due to the
regulations.
due to the
and-
grant,
yeah,
really.
Yeah.
Well, as I say, we got it done in a year versus AOT opposition.
Well, come to the meetings and, we'll keep everybody informed as the process goes along. But there's a lot to a V-Trans TAP grant, unfortunately.
We have Mike Rowicki in the back, and then I'm going to suggest we move to the next article.
Yes.
I just want to update a little bit on what's happening for V-Trans. The last 3 years, Vermont's had significant flooding in the state, and they've had to shift priorities and resources to help address that flooding in other parts of the state. So that pushes back some of our plans for what we would hope to do in other parts of the state. And it's exacerbated this year because for the first time ever that we can remember, FEMA has denied storm damage recovery funds for flooding up. So even that's being weaponized by the current president. So we're going to have to find extra money to help with just for paying for the storm damage as well.
Thank you. Let's move on to Article 5. Shall the voters of the town of Putney authorize general fund expenditures for expenses of $2,021,975.86, of which $1,581,292.86 shall be raised by taxes, and $323,175 by non-tax revenues, and $117,508 by surplus funds for the fiscal year beginning July 1st, 2026 and ending June 30th, 2027. Are there any questions or comments about the general fund budget? You can find that on page 28, and the notes which highlight key elements of it for the general budget are on page 36 of your annual report. Questions, comments? Ruby?
Could you speak to how is this financial supplement helpful in thinking through this article?
So, this financial supplement has been in the works since 2019. I borrowed this from another town, and we have added to it over the years, and this year, Kim, again, Monroe, has put more information in here and added graphs. So what this does, and I don't know if folks, in the article itself, when we have to raise property taxes to offset the budget, and if you notice the amount that is non-tax revenues, right? It's really small. So we struggle to bring in revenue to offset taxes, okay? This report right here will explain the areas that we are challenged by. We have tried to write articles. The local options tax was one. Currently, we do have local tax on rooms. And right now, there's a quarterly payment. Our first payment was about $11,000. Second payment was less. So you can't really rely on it. But property tax exemptions here in town, it doesn't help the property tax revenue line. So again, in here, you will see, and I'm just discussing municipal tax. I don't talk about the education tax because I'm not fluent with that, and it's not my area. But for today, we're talking about municipal property taxes. The budget did go up a little bit. We were able to offset, and I say a little bit, 6.6% is like, that's not a little. We were able to offset it by fund balance surplus again this year. We did it last year. As long as we can continue to do that, that will help. But again, we struggle trying to make up that difference. I can tell you increases in the budget. We have a zoning office budget. We hired an assessor to help with the listers. That contract is $36,000 a year. IT support is not cheap. And benefits continue to go up. So medical insurance, and if we don't get a handle on this, Michael, Mariki, I do my best to not have the tax rate increase. In FY '27, it will increase by a penny at this point, but that's because we had that fund balance surplus that we're able to utilize. I'm always looking to try to find revenue that we can offset the general fund. Again, it continues to creep up, but we can no longer be understaffed at town hall. I tried that this year, it does not work. The only thing it does is burn people out. So again, I am no longer the town, or the zoning administrator. We do have a part-time zoning administrator. He is in the office 2 days a week, half days. And then I did put back in the budget an administrative assistant, full-time. Because I have people in my office right now that are doing 2 to 3 other jobs, and I'm having to delegate to them, and it's not okay anymore. So I'm building the team. That way, succession planning is happening now, folks. But even working with like the boards and the committees, on these projects and these studies, it's the only way we can advance. But in my role, I'm always conscientious of the budget.
Questions? We'll start with Lisa Papazian.
I just wanted to say that Karen does a huge amount. And this year, I know, working with her, she's been overtaxed and overstressed. And I fully support you fully staffing town hall, because when people have the space and the time, they can look for alternative revenue sources and pursue them. That takes time and effort. So I think it's a win-win.
Yeah.
Is there if I get more questions
Sure.
to move it through, and then what I'd like to do is get a lot of questions and comments out, and then maybe turn to the select board at the end to get your final thoughts, if that's okay.
Sure.
As a way to go forward.
Sure.
Janice?
I echo what Lisa said, but I'm also have a small question about the exemptions of the churches. Can you tell me what sacred balance is? Maybe other people know, but I never heard of it before.
Jordy?
A group bought what was the Catholic Church parsonage, I guess you call it, and they have put a chapel in there, and they filed their application form for getting public pious charitable as a church exemption, and the town attorney read it and said they are approved. It is something we're looking at again this year.
Is it Catholic?
It is non-denominational. They bought the building from on Old Depot Road, what used to be the parsonage.
The Catholic Church is now on the tax rolls. It's no longer a church.
Right.
I know there was a hand in front of, was it Lionel?
Yeah, I also appreciate the challenges that Karen faces. There are structural deficits in municipal government from cost of living adjustments and insurance that make it extremely challenging to provide the services, but also not kill the taxpayer. But my ears really pricked up when I heard the mention of fund balance surplus. That's something I'm familiar with as well. And I'd just like to know, either now or at the end of the audience's questions, I'd like a quick snapshot on where the fund balance is currently and how it's been used in the past 5 years to see whether or not that's going to be sustainable for us or not.
Okay, I had a couple other hands up, and then we'll get an answer to that question. Howard, Darren?
Madam Moderator, earlier our town manager mentioned the matter of tax-exempt properties in Putney, which has come up every now and then, of course, because we do have quite a number, including the Greenwood School, the Putney School, the Grammar School, and Landmark College. Now, the reason I mention them is because they, of course, have students. And I believe if you add them all up, that Putney's population during the school year is not 2,600, but actually something between 4,000 and 4,500. So my question therefore, probably to our town manager, is in what they call payments in lieu of taxes, are these schools paying their fair share of what it costs to provide municipal services to all the people who actually are on campus?
Maybe I'll take another.
Sure.
This will give you a chance to prepare some answers. Great, so Ben.
I was just curious about what the investment income that the town has is, and whether what we see in the statement represents simply interest accrued or what?
I've just given them 3 things to answer, so I'm thinking that I'm going to turn it to the select board at this point. You can take them in any order.
Do you want to take the fund balance?
Sure.
45.
45? So these are all the these are all the funds.
Those are all your fund balances.
Yeah. I think we were talking about the general fund balance. That was the question, right? Okay.
Are you talking about Lionel's question?
Yeah.
So it was around the surplus funds.
The surplus fund, yeah, so the general fund surplus.
General fund and highway fund are fund balance, surplus.
I don't know the question. I don't know the answer to the highway fund, but the general fund, so the auditors several years ago recommended that the town build up the surplus fund to accommodate 90 days of emergency. What an emergency would be is if you guys didn't pass the budget and we had to scramble to fund town hall until you graciously funded a budget, that would be one way we would use that money. Last year, I believe, was it last year?
Yes,
We,
in March.
in town meeting, voted to take that 90 days worth of funds and put it into a reserve fund for that purpose. And then the remainder of that surplus went back to to offset the the taxes. This year, we still have the 90 days in there because there was no emergency, yay. And so the offset, we're using are we using all of it?
No.
We're putting $55,038.24 to the unexpended fund balance, the unrestricted reserve fund that you guys created last year. And then the remainder is going, the $117,508 is going to offset taxes for this year.
And can somebody answer Howard's question about the contributions from the exempted educational institutions to municipal services?
Do you want to answer that question?
Sure. So the private schools, we have an arrangement with them in lieu of taxes. They have been actually paying for the bond on this building that we're in right now. So over 20 years, it will be paid in fiscal year 27 is the last payment. It will be paid in full. Whether or not it covers, because we've had increases over the years, we will have to renegotiate with the schools. And our hope is to do it once we have it, after town meeting, we will start that process. And it may be a working group, Howard, that we may start small. I know 20 years ago, and Lisa Papazian may be able to talk to this point, there was a small committee and a agreement was made with the schools. So, again, it's covered the bond payments, so the taxpayers have not had to do that that payment.
And that information is listed at the bottom of page 7 in the supplement.
That is correct.
Yeah, it's very well laid out there. I just want to also push this back up to Mike, because as these are statutory exemptions, the town really does not have much say whether we can exempt these or not. They're just exempt, as a matter of fact. And as you can see, we are losing a fair amount of taxable revenue due to the fact that these are exempt.
Can you say the number?
It is 900, well, the assessed value of the total assessed value is 134,434,800, and the lost tax revenue is 914,560, so almost $1 million.
Almost a whole budget, folks.
Yeah, so, I know there's a lot of pushback in the legislature to keep these fully exempt from municipal taxes, but it is becoming untenable, especially for exempt rich towns like Putney.
Did you answer Ben's question before I turn to Howard?
Before you, can I ask a follow-up question to that? Like, what are the exemptions? Who's exempt and what are they exempt for?
It's on here, 7.
Page
And
7.
Got it.
There's a lot. Page 7
Got it, thank you, yes.
of this, Ben, you have to have the fiscal.
I will put that.
Yeah.
Howard's been waiting? Oh, did you answer? I don't
No,
think so.
he had a question about interest.
Yes, yeah, I'm curious.
Investment accounts, what page are you looking at?
Well, it says that 3% of the general fund's revenue comes from investment income, $55,000. I don't know what that is.
I saw it in the general.
Yeah.
What page are you on, Ben?
Well, on page 28, it breaks it down, it's line 100, 293.
Oh, you know what that is, Ben? That is the interest from our bank account
Gotcha.
for the general fund. So that has been a big number for the last 5 years, but it is dropped. And we're not gonna be seeing that kind of money. It was good while it was coming in, but that's the kind of revenue though that you don't expect. And those are the kinds of revenues that are yes, it helps, but it is going away.
Howard?
Madam Moderator, I'd just like to mention that actually my original question has been answered very well, but I'd just like to summarize what it actually said. We were told that the lost tax revenue from these properties being exempt totals $914,000. Therefore, the payments in the year of taxes should be negotiated to come to around that same amount of money, nearly $1 million. Now, obviously, payment on the bond for this building doesn't come anywhere near to that amount on an annual basis, and perhaps not even in total. So I would suggest that this be the basis of our negotiations with the exempt properties is proportional to your municipal valuation, we expect from you amounts that total 900,000.
Any other questions or comments? Lionel?
Yeah, I just need to follow up quickly on the answer that I got. I was looking for something else. I was looking for an actual total amount, what that 90-day reserve constitutes financially. If I understand correctly, this is very new. It's something that started last year. There were no surpluses before. There are 2 surpluses, one's for the general fund and one's for the highway fund. We can't speak to the highway fund today, but for the general fund surplus, my understanding is that $55,000 is somehow being brought into that account from some, I don't know where, and $117,000, about more than 3 times that amount, is being used this year to offset the increase in taxes. So again, without having enough information, it appears to me that this is not sustainable, and that if we're using 3 times the amount of money that we're bringing in simply to offset taxes, that this is not going to work for many years going forward. But there's a lot more to it, I'm sure.
And I'm wondering also, this is gonna be a discussion, I would imagine, at town meeting.
Right.
And so that more people will be able to hear that, and then we can, vote on it. So I'm wondering if the select board wants to take notes on this and maybe not respond to them today, but know that this is gonna be a concern from the floor.
That's fine, but I don't really understand what's going on yet. But that's okay. I can figure it out outside of the meeting, I guess.
Just briefly, there's been a surplus every year. We've been holding it back to get up to the 90 days. And last year, we created a fund, a special fund, to put that money in for that specific purpose. So the surplus has always been there. It's just more structured now.
And can you say anything about the fact that we're using 3 times the amount this year to offset taxes? Do you have any concerns about that?
I can
Any
speak
select
to
board
that.
member?
Yeah, I can speak to that. Yeah, it is a concern, and I don't think anybody is saying that this is a sustainable solution forever of holding the taxes down by using that surplus. So, I mean, I think that is a huge concern. Yeah.
We have a hand in the back, Mary?
This is about the schools. On the properties that are actually residential to the school, I know at least of 3 houses that were bought very close to me. To house faculty, actually more than that. Are they taxed?
Yes.
Our lister can,
Go ahead, Jordan.
Yeah.
So if you're talking about Landmark College, the ones that are faculty housing for them are taxed. Putney School, the faculty housing is part of their contract. They don't pay anything for it. So it's part of the school and not taxed. Same at Greenwood. But if a school has property that they rent or lease, that becomes taxable.
So what do you mean by contract in terms of Putney School?
So some staff members at Putney School are provided housing. It's not in a dorm, but on campus. And it's a residential school with all minors. So it is part of their work requirement that they live on campus.
Any other questions about the general fund budget? You want to say something before we move on to the next article? Yes.
I just want to make a comment. So Lionel, in this financial supplement on page 14, look at that chart, okay? And I know where you're going with your question, and once you review this, call me, all right? And if we do it at town meeting, that's fine too, okay?
Thank you.
Thank you. Let's move on to Article 6. Shall the town of Putney raise and appropriate funds by taxation in an amount equal to 1% of the general fund expenditure authorized by Article 5 above in support of food security provided to Putney residents? If this article passes, the Putney food shelf shall be removed from the Community Service Appropriation Group A. Are there any questions about Article 6? Mary?
I was wondering why it was decided to make this a separate item that's taxed, that we pay a tax on, instead of adding it to the budget of the town. Because we do add things onto the budget of the town under the Selectboard. And this is, so now this will make it 7.6%. I want to make clear, I really want this food shelf to be supported. That's not part of my question. It's just how you came to the decision to make it a totally separate item, and it will be, from what I read, if I'm reading it correctly, it will be 1% every year. So it will bring up the tax rate 1% every single year. Is that true? No?
It's an annual, it would be an annual warrant article if we were to continue to do it this way.
Oh, okay. But why did Congress decide to do that?
Does Hannah want to speak to this?
I would ask her to.
The executive director has.
Hannah, are you able to unmute yourself?
Hi, everyone. So I basically came to the town this year and said the food shelf need has been going up for 6 years. We are trying to seek more funds from all surrounding towns. How can we go about this? And so how can we go about making a request for more funds? The social services system of 2 buckets doesn't have a way of there's no system for making a request within those buckets. So it was recommended that this is the direction we take it this year. I don't think that we could, well, because it's a new request, I think it needs to come to the town for a vote. Aileen and Karen, you could also back me up on why this is the best strategy for this year. I don't know that it's the best strategy for every year, but it's what seemed doable for this year. And I had a certain amount that I was aiming to request, which is similar to the request I'm making in Brattleboro, because we serve a similar amount of residents from Putney as Brattleboro. And then is proportionate to the amount that I'm requesting in Westminster and Dummerston. So given the amount that we were going for, 1% is roughly what it was. 1% being around $20,000 was what I was looking to request. So I don't know, Karen, if you want to speak any more to that, or that's enough of an explanation.
Sure, I can dive into this.
Can you speak up a little? Can people hear
Sure.
you back?
So Hannah came to my office to discuss this article, and she explained why. And this board recently updated the community service appropriations policy, and so coming to me, she explained that the food shelf and another nonprofit organization in town here, they provide essential services, so food security, health security. So I listened to Hannah and I said, okay, most likely you're gonna need an article. Whether she petitioned this article or she went to the select board, because the select board does have the authority to add an article on their own. And she went in front of the select board and this is where we're at today. It's 1% on the total general fund. And again, that'll increase or decrease. It depends on the budget every year, right? And it's left to the voters at this point for Tuesday to whether approve or not approve it.
Any other questions about this? I'll go to the back and then move forward. Janice?
So and when this passes, does that readjust the other, the money that goes to the other social service agencies, that then the $7,000 divided among them?
By whatever they are, yes. Yep.
So there's 2 groups in the community service appropriation. And right now, Putney Food Shelf is in Group A. So if this passes, they come out, and then that money that was already set aside, which is in your town report, that money will be divided amongst the agencies in Group A that are left.
Bex wanted to respond?
I had a question for Hannah about if Dummerston, Brattleboro, and Westminster responded to her request.
Did you hear the question, Hannah?
Yes. Yes, so Dummerston Cares has taken up the charge in Dummerston, and they've been very supportive, petitioning, getting all the signatures. They're going to speak the article on the floor. They're very well organized. This is the first time we've requested funds from Dummerston. And I am so grateful for their support. Westminster, we've received funds from Westminster for the past 2 years. And last year on the floor, it was suggested to raise the amount to 5,000, and that went through unanimously. They are actually meeting right now. Their town meeting is today. And so Nancy Olson and Paul Renouf are there representing the Putney Food Shelf. I would expect it will go through again as it did last year. And Brattleboro is a very lengthy process. There's an application that goes to the Human Services Committee. It was a 9-page application with many attachments. This year, I requested 20,000. It was recommended by the Human Services Committee. Now, Brattleboro is in a very complex situation this year. So it will go to the voters, the select board. I don't know if I want to go into all, we should go into this, but it will go to the voters because the select board did not choose to fund the entire human services budget. It's not over. There was an info session this week covered by BCTV. And last year, the voters at representative town meeting voted to fund the human services budget at, I believe, 2.6% or 2% of their full budget. So there was the will of the voters at RTM was in favor of funding the human services last year for this FY27. So there's reason to believe that when it does go to the voters, it will be voted in. We'll see that will happen in late March or early April, depending on when their town meeting happens.
We have questions from the back, Mike, and then to Lisa.
Hannah, can you hear me?
Yes.
Sure. First of all, thanks for all you're doing. We're hearing at the state level that because of federal cuts and the economy slowing down, basically being flat, the needs keep arising. Is that what you're seeing with people coming to the food shelf?
Yes, so we've seen need rise by it's almost quadrupled in 6 years, 17% up this past year. So it's been on an upward trend for 6 years. There's affordability issues are just in general across the entire nation a really big deal right now. And the food shelf really helps with the pinch of the budget and makes sure that food is available, one of our most basic needs. And Putney Food Shelf is really committed to making sure the basics are on the shelves, and that in order to reduce the fear of scarcity, that people, when they go to the food shelf, they know they can walk home with the essentials. And that's part of why our food budget has increased, because we're really committed to having those basics available. And they get filled in by all of the free food that we can supplement, that comes through the Vermont Food Bank and through donations. And we can really fill out the offerings in that way. So every dollar given is stretched by the way we're able to source food. I feel like I'm rambling a bit beyond your question. I'll stop.
There was other hands, Howard, and then to Lisa.
Madam Moderator, the actual amount, I believe, has not been mentioned. Assuming that Article 5 passes as is, the amount is $20,220. Correct. Now, I note that in the article, it says, in Article 6, it says, in support of food security provided to Putney residents. Now, I am assuming that the Putney Food Shelf serves everyone who comes in without asking where they're from. Now, there's nothing wrong with that, but it does mean that what does in support of food security provided to Putney residents actually mean here? That I guess is my question.
Somebody want to answer that question, why it's in the article to Putney residents?
Hannah, maybe?
Because it is.
Because, I mean, I think Hannah does, I think the food shelf does take a tally of what towns people are coming from, not necessarily addresses, but just for their own accounting. To be honest, I'm not sure, Hannah and I worked on this article. I'm not sure why we added Putney residents, other than to say that this is the town of Putney and we're raising money for food security for our residents. So.
I'm happy to speak to that if you'd like me to also.
Thank you.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah,
Hannah.
so shall I, Madam Moderator?
Yes, please.
Okay. Yeah, when we go to each of the towns in our core service area to make a request, we're requesting support for specifically the residents of those towns. So our food budget, which is not our whole budget, but our food budget is $100,000. We're requesting $20,000 to be a portion of the cost to serve Putney residents. And so same when I go to the Brattleboro, Westminster, Dummerston, the request is a portion of the cost proportionate to the requests that I'm making to each of those towns. Does that make sense?
There's a hand in the back, Lionel?
Yes, it makes sense if you're taking some sort of census and you have a proportional understanding of how the food is being distributed. Is that the case?
Yes. So people shop anonymously. That's very important to us. But we do request, we have a data form and people fill out what town they come from for this purpose. We need that data. And how many people are in their house, each household. So we have that data specifically. How many people have come from Putney, specifically how many people in each household are being served.
Other people who haven't spoken on this one? Then I'm going to go to Howard and back. Oh, Lisa, were you waiting first? Lisa and then to Howard.
I start by saying I'm very supportive of the food shelf and the incredible work it does, and of this article, but I just wanted to clarify something and ask a question. So this means that 1% of the general fund and plus 2.5 of the general plus highway fund? No.
No.
It's just the general fund.
Just the general fund?
Yes.
So 3.5 from the general fund is now, if this passes, so going to social service agencies.
So 1% will go to the Putney food shelf. So based on the general fund operating budget. The other agencies are at 2.5%, and I forget what page it's on, of the general fund and highway.
Right.
So those two are combined, yes.
And you mentioned a little while ago that the select board had redone the policy. Could you talk to that? What was it? What is it now?
Okay.
You know,
so this is something that was sort of on the plate for the select boards of years past, constantly, year after year after year. And I think about 2 or 3 years ago, we finally tackled it.
Mm-hmm.
It was getting complicated because we included Next Stage, which is not a social service. So we needed to define what would go under these groups. So the previous social service agency had 3 buckets. Mm-hmm. One was agencies that served Putney residents that was in Putney. The second bucket was agencies that served Putney residents that were a majority of Putney residents that weren't in Putney, like groundworks or things like that. And the third one was everybody else. It didn't have a service to Putney requirement necessarily. So one of the things that the board did is redefine what we meant by a a community service, it became a community service as opposed to social services to include things like Next Stage. We eliminated this bucket C, and then we changed the allocation a little bit. I don't have it in front of me, but we changed the allocation a little bit between bucket A and bucket B. And so bucket A got a larger proportion than they had previously. So that's how it stands now. The issue that we're running into is that, and the way that it works is it's a 2.5 of the operating budget, so it's the highway budget and the general fund, and then it gets split between those groups. So the issue that we keep running into is if we add something into those buckets, the pie that they get gets smaller. And for specific social agencies that are providing essential services to Putney residents, basically those functions that used to be town functions that we have slopped off to private organizations, those buckets are getting smaller and smaller. So there are a couple of social agencies in Putney that I personally think belong in a different category. And this article gets to that for this year. I think what that is telling the select board is that we have to redo this policy again. But this is kind of a bit of a Band-Aid to get us through until we're able to breathe and do it again. Because it was very hard the first time, or the time that we did this. And obviously we didn't get it right, so.
We have another question on Article 6, Howard?
Good explanation.
Madam Moderator, because I asked the question about Putney residents, I would just like to say that I'm very satisfied with the answer given by the lady named Hannah, who's online, where she said that the $20,000 is proportional to how can I put it? The number of Putney residents within the total number of people they serve. This makes perfect sense. So I thank her for an excellent answer.
It looks like, can we move to Article 7? No, Ruby's got a question on Article 6.
It's actually a comment. I just want to make sure that I say this here. I'm also going to say this on the floor on Tuesday. As the coordinator of Putney Community Cares, I'm the other, I don't want to be the elephant in the room. Like, I'm the other, organization that provides direct services in that grouping. And so I just wanted to let people know and applaud Hannah for her approach to putting this article forward. She was very open and transparent with all of the other groups that are in the community organizations category. So we were not blindsided by this. She did a lot of work there, and so that is the kind of collaboration we want to see in our town. So that just wanted to make sure folks knew that. And also, I'm really happy to hear that the select board is taking seriously a need to reevaluate this particular policy, because it, for the direct services organizations, it is not working. It is not, and it is essential that we get the funds. We don't want to say it's not working, so take them away. We don't want to, no offense to Brattleboro, but what is happening in Brattleboro is really hard. And Putney is not doing that at all. But I can say that my board has talked about this. We're in full support of the food shelf and always have been. We see them getting hammered. We have clients that go there, and we understand the intense need that they have. So we're in full support of this article, and at the same time have concerns of our own around what types of needs that we intend to bring to the select board. So we're happy to hear that this will be considered.
Great, so we move to Article 7. Article 7 is, shall the voters of the town of Putney exempt the yellow barn from municipal taxation on the improvements, appurtenances, and land located at 15 Greenwood School Drive, lot 070248 ON, for a period of 1 year, beginning April 1st, 2026, as authorized by 32 VSA, Section 3840. Any questions on Article 7? Yes, Lionel.
I'm a massive fan of Yellow Barn, and I really appreciate what they're doing right now in the center of town by developing the new land to serve so many different functions and connect the library to the co-op. Man, that is so big for us. That's the best thing that could happen. I guess I'm just a little confused on this because it looks like the exemption that they're seeking has to do with property elsewhere. And it seems to me that the property in town is the one that should be exempted, and I'm not sure about the rest of it.
Jordy, can you answer?
May I answer that, please? Just to get a little clarification.
I'm going to go first, Catherine, to Jordy, the lister.
That's fine.
About that very
That's
specific,
fine.
and then I'll turn it over to you, Catherine.
Absolutely, no problem.
Jordy.
The property that's in the warning is practice pods, I guess we call them, on the campus of Greenwood School. So they're not part of the campus, not part of the downtown facility, and they have been, they've been there for a number of years, and they've been in a voted exemption since then.
Catherine, did you want to speak to this?
Sure, and thank you. First of all, thank you all for the question. I'm sorry I can't be there in person. And Jordy, thank you for for your answer. I did want to explain similarly that it might not be known to everybody that Yellow Barn is a residential program. That's how the concerts happen, is because we have the campus, which we rent from the Greenwood School every year. That's been since 2008. Little bit of history is that Yellow Barn was actually nomadic for 3 years. We were down in Amherst, Massachusetts, desperately trying to get back to Putney. And that was made possible because of these buildings that we were able to construct on the Greenwood School campus.
Any other questions in the back? Robin.
Thank you. Do I understand correctly that this is a renewal of an exemption, Jordy? This is not a new exemption?
Correct.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
Isn't Greenwood School exempt?
Yes.
Yes.
Statutorily. They are. Yellow Barn owns those buildings. They're actually modular. We would never do this, but technically they could pick up and leave campus. And so they're actually put aside for Yellow Barn as opposed to being included as part of the Greenwood School campus, as far as the town records go.
Does that answer your question, Lisa? Did you hear it?
Kind of. I'm not sure.
Fletcher.
Greenwood's exemption only encompasses the property insofar as they are using it for their own exempt purpose. If they rent part of the property to someone else, that entity may or may not qualify for an exemption. In this instance, the Yellow Barn is saying, hey, we qualify too, but they have to do it on their own ticket. Once a portion of the property is rented out to a third party, it's no longer included within Greenwood's own exemption.
Other questions on this one? Is there anybody who hasn't spoken yet wants to participate? And neither of you have spoken on this issue. Lisa Papazian.
Forgive my old brain. This has probably been discussed in years past, but we used to do 5-year exemptions, and it looks like we're now on a 1-year schedule.
Yeah.
Is that for everybody?
So we have only 2 voted exemptions left. One is the Yellow Barn pods, and the other one is the gun club. The
And the community center.
community center. I thought they were.
They're not this year, but they are our third. They're not statutory.
They're not yet?
Because they lease so much space that it
okay.
affect it.
All right. So I didn't know that. Late breaking news. It used to be that they were sort of on all different schedules. And a couple years ago, we made it so that they would be on the same schedule. So we would vote on all of them on the same year. So the gun club specifically is one that we're not really sure about. Full disclosure, we're not sure if the town wants to continue to make that exempt. So the Yellow Barn as well falls within the 1 year so that they come up again in sync.
So next year.
They'll come up again.
A slew, asking for 5 years.
We might, yeah.
Thank you.
Howard?
Madam Moderator, because this point has not come up regarding Yellow Barn, and because I am familiar with Yellow Barn, the reason for the, what they call the pods on the Greenwood School campus is these are studios where musicians practice getting ready for performances that are presented at the big barn on Main Street. Without the practice studios up at Greenwood School, I'm willing to say that, and Catherine can correct me on this, but I'm guessing that absent those studios, Yellow Barn really would not be feasible because, like everyone who's going to perform, we have to get ready beforehand.
Catherine, do you want to speak on that?
Correct. Yes, so we would not be able to do the work we need to do up at Greenwood without those buildings, and that work does include practice and rehearsing for performances.
Any other questions about this Article 7? Looks like we can move on to a discussion on Article 8. Article 8 reads, shall the voters of the town of Putney exempt the Putney Gun Club from municipal taxation on the improvements, appurtenances, and land located at 44 Sand Hill Road, Lot 070339, for a period of 1 year beginning April 1st, 2026, as authorized by 32 VSA Section 3832(7). Any questions about this article? Ben?
You guys had said that the Yellow Barn was, this is a continuation of the exemption there. And I'm wondering if that's true for the Putney Gun Club as well. It sounds like it is.
Yes.
And if so, how long?
Sorry, I didn't hear the question.
Sorry, the exemption for the gun club, how long has it been exempt in?
Oh, gosh.
A long time, I'm guessing. That's good enough for me. I was just curious.
Longer than 10, I've been a list for 10 years and it's exempt.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's always been a voted exemption though.
Yeah.
It's not they didn't go before the listers to try to become exempt. I also just want to point out that on both of these articles, we specifically said municipal taxation only. That means that they would be paying the school tax portion. We did that to, again, try to keep the tax rate down.
Robin?
I believe I heard that there were some questions about the exemption from gun club on the select board. If you could elaborate on that, I'd appreciate it. And also, is the gun club still in use?
That was our question.
Yeah, it was still in use, at least sporadically.
Yeah. Is there anybody from the gun club here?
Dan's here.
There we go. You can answer the question.
Yeah, it is used sporadically. There's been a real decline in membership in the last few years. We're starting to plan kind of events for the community at this stage. We're going that once since the select board meeting, and we've talked about things to do and brainstormed a little bit. So the club's been kind of dormant for a while. We're hoping to build it back up.
Any other questions on Article 8?
Was there, I'm sorry,
Yeah.
was there a date for how long it had been exempt?
1 year.
1 year.
Wait, for how long has it ever been? Do you know?
Before I came on.
Over 10 years.
Yeah, my understanding, the club's been there since like the 50s.
I was on the select board in the 80s and it was exempt then.
It's been a long, long time.
Any other questions? Yes, Peg.
Just to answer Robin's question, one of the things that came up was that the last time this came up before the town, we had a lot of discussion about gun safety and the services that were being provided by the gun club providing gun safety instruction. And so we were a little concerned because they've not been actively doing that.
So we're kind of like the rebuilding stages. I've looked into like a junior marksmanship program for BB guns, and that's kind of like the intention. Is the event that we're going to put on is like see what kind of draw is in the community to bring some youth in to have a BB gun match kind of to see what we can generate for interest and see if we can have people there to build it back up.
Yeah, Sharon?
So I just want to make a comment, because I was at select board meeting when we had this discussion, and recreation is on everyone's mind, whether it's trails, whether it's pool, whatever it is, and we've been trying to get a grant. That's another thing too, revenue. We go after every grant we can to reduce the overall, tax rate. So it's not a burden on the taxpayers. The gun club, and I've been in Putney for 8 years now, come to us, Dan, okay? Because we can talk and see where you want to go with this, and get you involved and engaged. All right.
Yeah, so that's kind of the thing, if we don't have enough interest, we'll be coming to the town and saying,
Yep.
Here's some property.
Right.
I mean, I gotta get legal counsel on that, obviously, but
Yeah.
that's probably,
But we have to open up the communication line, and we can do that this year. Okay. I'm focused on recreation, just so everybody knows, and town hall.
All right.
So,
Rachel?
Sue have your hand up?
I do. Thank you, Karen, for stating that. One of the things that was in the 2023 town plan is to write a comprehensive recreation plan. We've been breathless doing a lot of projects, but on our docket is to write a grant, do a comprehensive recreation plan. If the state offers an opportunity, we'll be writing it in September, October. And I will say right now, as the Planning Commission undertakes studies like that, it's our job to do that. We form advisory committees of people to inform that. And Karen and I have discussed about the importance of building that committee now, of
Right.
people who are interested in the future of recreation in the town. So when we write the grant application, it is with the input and knowledge and support of those who want to make sure recreation activities are broadly available across our community. So I would say that I'll be doing more outreach about that, but you can talk to Karen, you can talk to me about that. We do want to have a core committee, and we hope that that can begin to build the basis of a recreation council type thing that will be a part of the recreation plan. The plan will tell us what type of governance guidance structures we need to make recreation sustainably available for the whole community and inclusive.
So it's now 11:30, and we still have several articles to go through. So I'm going to just try to move us around. Howard?
Madam Moderator, because the overall recreation plan has been brought up, I'm going to take the liberty of making a comment that really is not germane. But I think I can demonstrate that it's apropos. The gun club is across the street from Cooper's Field. Now, I walk Sand Hill Road also just about every day, and at various times of day, and I've never seen or heard anything happening at the gun club. Well, I can say the same thing about Cooper's Field, except for the annual softball tournament on Labor Day weekend. I can count on that as part of it. It's one of the signs of fall. But, everything up there could be put to much better use than it is. We really do need a recreation plan.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. So now, it sounds like we can now move to Article 9. Article 9 is asking, shall the voters of the town of Putney authorize the select board to transfer $55,038.24 from fiscal year 2025 unexpended fund balance to the select board unrestricted reserve fund? Any questions on this? Lionel?
Just quickly to understand why this is necessary. It sounded like last year we fully funded the 90-day withholding, and now for some reason we need to bring another 55 in. Is that because our overall budget has grown?
Yes.
It's just to make up that difference?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
Thank you.
Any other questions on Article 9? Howard?
Madam Moderator, I'll be quick, but I do have a few questions here that, among other things, have to do with my having consulted our town manager. Now, on page 45, where we look at fund balances, line item 212, Select Board Unrestricted Reserve Fund. It shows balances of 0 right across, and then it shows after voted transfers, $438,105. But on February 19th, I asked our town manager via email, what is the balance of this fund? And the reply, I quote, is, Howard, it is 0.00, unquote. Now, considering that the intent was to transfer the money, that is one question. But if I'll continue with the background here, if I may. Some people have mentioned that they think the situation changed, and yes, it did. The reason was, town said to the legislature, you know, we keep having these floods, and they cost a lot of money to put roads back together and so on. We really need to be able to keep money for that purpose, which is something that Vermont law did not encourage before. So they changed the law, and I think perhaps I should read you the law rather than trying to paraphrase it. It's not very long. This is 24 VSA section 1585, unassigned fund balance. Monies from a budget approved by the voters at an annual or special meeting that are not expended by the end of a municipality's fiscal year shall be under the control and direction of the legislative body of the municipality and may be carried forward from year to year as an unassigned fund balance. Unassigned fund balances may be invested and reinvested as are other monies received by a town treasurer and may be expended for any public purpose as established by the legislative body of the municipality. Now, no money has ever been transferred to the Select Board Unrestricted Reserve Fund, despite adoption at 2025 Putney Town Meeting of Article 8, quote, shall the voters of the town of Putney authorize the transfer of $438,105 from unrestricted year-end surplus to the Unrestricted Reserve Fund. So therefore, my second question to our town manager, after the first one being, why is the balance 0, is, my second question is, if we had known the law was going to change, would your office have left things the way they were a year ago instead of our establishing the Select Board Unrestricted Reserve Fund?
Okay, that sounds like a question for Karen.
For me?
Yeah.
So in March, if I had known, I wouldn't have brought it to the select board, that the money could stay in the general fund, and this is just the general fund, not highway. That rule applies to general fund only. We wouldn't have had to make that change. So I would have just left it there. But the fact that we do have this fund now, and again, Eileen explained it, you know, if a budget doesn't pass, then we can revert to that fund. The other thing too is that if you have a deficit in your general fund, you are to make that deficit up, okay? Whether you borrow the money, if you have surplus, you need to make that money up by law. So that's another reason having that fund. I don't see the fund, I see the fund for budget purposes. If there's an emergency, like, you know, we have $1 million worth of road damage again, you know, the highway fund does have a fund balance, but instead of borrowing $500,000 like we had to do in 2021, because I knew we couldn't take it out of the highway fund, because we would have bankrupted that fund. And we paid interest on it, you know, so that money could be used for highway as well, if the select board chooses to do that. Because Putney does have a finance director and a treasurer, you know, these are all conversations that we have together. And, you know, we advise the board, and, you know, the final decision is with the board. But, yeah, Howard, I mean, if I had been not proactive, because I didn't even know the law was changing.
We didn't.
Yeah, and it did change July 1st. And I'm like, oh, we went through that exercise, but I think it's still a good exercise. And the money is secure in case something does happen. So.
Any
There were two questions.
Okay, there
were two questions.
There were two questions.
So the reason why we have a zero balance on June 30th, 2025, and a $438,105 balance on July 1st is because we run a fiscal year
Right.
Budget, and the voted exemption, the vote that you all made last March applied to the next fiscal year, not prior fiscal year.
Right.
So then.
So it's transferred now. It's now in that reserve fund.
So it appears
Just
then.
1 second, Howard, I want to just make sure that, because I want to make sure that people who haven't spoken on this article have a chance to speak before I turn it back to Howard. Looks like it's back in your hands, Howard.
So it appears then that somehow our town manager and I misunderstood each other when I asked her what's the balance of the fund.
Right.
And you said zero. Neither of us said as of which date.
Right.
Even though we both know better, but we blew it on that one.
Yeah, we did.
It is important to mention, Madam Moderator, just very briefly, that the new Vermont law refers to unexpended funds or fiscal year surpluses. I note that neither the Select Board Unrestricted Reserve Fund nor the General Fund Balance Reserve Policy ever mention unexpected funds or fiscal year surpluses. This may be something that needs to be updated, but it also does not mention what if we don't pass the budget. Now, I would suggest that that one is a little difficult to accept, because at town meeting, in our wonderful town meeting system in New England, we voters are sovereign. And if we decide to reject the budget, we reject the budget. Then it is incumbent upon our select board to come up with a new budget. So to say that we have to have some money, so we don't care if you don't pass the budget because we've already got your money, that is a little hard. I'm getting close to the edge of parliamentary procedure here, but that's a little hard to swallow. Thank you.
Okay, great. Do we have any other questions on Article 9? Otherwise, I'm going to say we move to Article 10. I got a thumbs up on that. Shall the voters authorize payment of real and personal property taxes for the ensuing year in 4 installments, with the due date on the 3rd Friday of August, November, February, and May by physical delivery, USPS postmark, or online payment by 4:30 p.m. on or before that date? Any questions about Article 10? Ruby?
I was just wondering how, last year was the first year we had 4 due dates. How'd that go?
Well, we haven't got to May yet. But, yeah, it's working well. And so February, I took a look at the numbers, and we're not in bad shape. So I think, there's a few people that, it's a struggle. And, I just, as the delinquent tax collector, I try to work with everyone, and so, but I think it's gonna work out better.
Lionel has his hand up.
Just curious about that struggle. You say you've been here about 8 years. In that 8 years, have you seen default rates increasing, or are we seeing more residents who are losing their properties?
So I've only had one tax sale since I've been out in office. That was 2019, 18, 19. What I see, Lionel, is the same names, okay? And I try to work with them. The last thing I want to do is send property to tax sale, but, when people get 2 years in arrears, it's hard to get caught up. The other thing too is I want to state that people who are on Social Security seldom fill out their homestead exemption. And that's the biggest problem I'm seeing. And when the first thing, I look at the tax bill. If I don't see a homestead exemption and I know they lived in town, I'm like, okay, we're gonna fix this, you know? We get them to the right services. I wait for that money to come back to the town, and then we start over. But, yeah.
Ben, you had your hand up.
Yeah, can you just remind me, the reason that this is an article is not because we need an article to authorize payment of property taxes, because we are authorizing it in a different installment regime than it's been in the past. Is that true?
So some towns, this article.
All right, we're gonna have to ask for the voices to be a little quieter just because the acoustics in here. Yeah.
So this is our second year with this payment arrangement, and most towns will put this article in every year as a reminder. You know, the select board can, if they only want to do it on a 3-year cycle, they can do it, but.
Yeah, we've actually put the, this article in as the 3-year period for a couple of years in the hopes that somebody would amend it on the floor to make it 4. So last year, we just explicitly said, do you want 4? Because we've been hearing a lot from taxpayers that, you know, they struggle to pay their taxes, and it's becoming hard, and so that's why we put it here.
Can I just follow up to clarify? So you're saying this is a move to try and make it easier for people to pay by breaking up 3 installments to 4.
Mm-hmm.
More frequent, less total balance per payment.
Yeah.
Understood. Thank you.
Yeah.
Great. Lisa?
Well, not for nothing, that makes a huge difference to a nonprofit that's paying taxes. It really helps. But Karen, that's amazing, 1 tax sale in 8 years. 20 plus years ago, when I was on the select board, it was pretty regular. A few every year. So
yeah,
kudos to you, and thank you for working with people the way you do.
Yeah.
Anybody else want to? I see Howard's hand. I'm going to turn it to him unless I see anybody else. Howard?
Madam Moderator, just very briefly, Article 10 is incorrectly drafted as shall the voters authorize. Someone, it could be me, could move at town meeting to amend it to read shall the voters of the town of Putney authorize.
Okay, that may happen.
We look
There
forward
may be
to
an
it.
amendment. The moderator may be overruled again. We'll see this year. Stay tuned. Could happen. Okay, anything else on Article 10? Otherwise, let's move to Article 11. Shall the voters of Putney call upon the General Assembly to discuss, take testimony, and vote on H 433 during the 2026 session? Oops.
I call order.
It's a little noisy in the room, we can't hear. Thank you. H 433 is an act relating to incremental implementation of Green Mountain Care that would establish publicly financed universal primary care, mental health services, and substance abuse treatment as a first step in phasing in universal health care for all Vermont residents. Are there any questions on Article 11? And I know Jane is on Zoom, and she's here to answer any questions, but before I turn it over to her, does anybody have a specific question? Howard has a specific question.
Madam Moderator, I checked this morning. Article 11 supports H 433 that is dead in the Vermont General Assembly. First read and referred to the House Committee on Health Care a year ago, it has received no attention whatsoever from this committee, nor will it be considered because town meeting break has begun and House and Senate reconvene on March 10th, just before crossover deadline, March 13th, when H 433 cannot move to the Senate because the House Committee on Health Care have not even discussed it once since a year ago. In other words, this may be what we call, some people call moot.
Jeanette has her hand up, and then I'll turn it to Jane. Jeanette.
So it is not necessarily dead on arrival or dead at all, because there are 4 legislative days, that Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, when they come back, crossover is indeed on the 13th, but there are 4 days, assuming that we have so much power in the town of Putney that we can force that healthcare committee to get rid of all the other things that they are doing and focus only on this bill for those 4 days. They will have 4 full days to do it, and they can do it in that time if they have the will to do it. So it isn't necessarily dead. The chances that Putney has that kind of power over the House Health Committee is pretty minute. So I wouldn't count on it, but it is worth sending them the message.
All right, and Jane, do you want to speak on this?
Yes, thank you. So this resolution addresses the fact that the House Health Committee has not taken action on this bill. It's to take it what's called off the wall of the House Health Committee and bring it into the General Assembly for discussion. As people know, 15 years ago, we passed Act 48, which would have provided universal health care. And it also was projected to lower healthcare costs, but that was never financed. So with this bill, we have now a chance to revisit this vision of universal care by introducing it over 10 years, the first being universal primary care. There is something called taking off the wall. I think it also is called discharge petition to get it out of the healthcare so we can finally discuss this. There's been very little discussion, although there's been a lot of support for universal health care. But since, 12 years ago, when the then Governor Shumlin pulled the plug on it, there hasn't been. So that's what we're asking for. It is more than our little town of Putney. There are at least 7 or 8 towns in the state and that are bringing this up as part of town meeting to show that where the people, how the people feel and what they want to happen. And there may be more taken up on the day of town meeting that we don't know about. Primary care is cheap. It's only about 6% of healthcare spending, so it's a great place to start. And this resolution is extremely timely and relevant because the federal cuts to the federal subsidies for purchasing healthcare insurance on the exchange have, they've forced people to drop insurance. As it is, we have almost half of Vermonters under 65 are underinsured. So as a result, people don't go to primary care because they can't afford it. And as a result, when they get sick, they go to the emergency room where care is 10 times the cost of a primary care office. And that's passed on to employers like the town of Putney. And the school system in the form of higher premiums. And those higher premiums are a major factor behind rising education costs and a corresponding increase in property taxes. As Karen said, she didn't finish her sentence, but she said, Mike, if we don't get a handle on this with medical insurance, it's huge. It's the second highest cost in a town budget after salaries, for education. So it's a message to our legislators to start discussing this on the floor of the General Assembly.
Any other? Oh, I got lots of questions. Jeanette, you already spoke, so I'm going to go to these other 2 people first. Ben?
My question is, if we know whether the committee has given us any evidence for why this bill has remained undiscussed? Is it a question of priorities? Is it a question of there's opposition to the bill? Do we know?
It sounds like Jeanette has an answer to that.
So I can tell you what taking it off the wall means. Whenever you get a bill sent to the legislature, there's a little postcard that has the number of the bill and the summary on it, and you put it on a bulletin board on the wall. And when you're going to discuss it, you take the card off and discuss it. So that's what it means off the wall. Vermont does not have a discharge vote or whatever that is that they have in the, that Jane referred to. They have that in the federal government, but Vermont does not have that discharge. The committee chair has complete jurisdiction over what bills are discussed and what aren't. And my guess is that there is just simply not the support for this in the General Assembly, that it could be discussed, but that it wouldn't pass. And so they've decided that there are a ton of other priorities that they need to address and the time to put the pressure on them it was introduced on February 28th, I think, of 2025. So the time to put the pressure on them was not 4 days before they have to have it done. And if it doesn't pass out of committee, it cannot go to the General Assembly for discussion. So, because we don't have like Maine, every bill has to come out of a committee, but in Vermont that doesn't happen. So priorities, time, the fact that there are people opposed to it.
Ruby had her hand up, and then I see Robin.
I have two questions, which hopefully are quick. One is, who is on that committee is there anyone in our local constituents that are on the committee? And it looks like the answer is no. And then the second question is for Jane, I think. You mentioned that other towns may be putting forth a similar article in their town meetings. I wonder if you can you share what towns there are? I realize that there might be some that happen from the floor and so you don't know, but like, is Burlington doing this? Is Rutland doing it? You know, like we're tiny. How big are the other towns that are also doing this?
Jane?
There are several towns in Addison County, Middlebury, Bethel. There are 6 or 7 towns in Addison County that I don't know all the names of.
Other hands, Robin.
Oh, if I may ask a question of both current and past legislators present, would this introduce any kind of pressure onto the legislature? Given the outlining of the process that you've just done, this year, or if not, perhaps one of you could speak on the floor after you've had a little time to prepare as to what we can do, recognizing that it's going to be non-binding, to push our legislators to at least consider this, recognizing all the headwinds against it.
Mike, do you want to, just because Jeanette's spoken before, do you want to weigh in on this?
Thank you. And thanks for your question, Robin. I think this is a good idea to pass. I think it's important to make a statement. Why it hasn't moved to two main factors, our governor and our president. Our governor doesn't support this, and the legislature does not have the votes to override the governor's vetoes now. The other thing is, we would need a waiver from Washington for Medicare and Medicaid.
Recording in progress.
Well, sorry. You're back?
Are we all set?
Yeah. Okay.
For us to change our basic healthcare system, we would need a Medicare Medicaid waiver from Washington, which is not going to happen. Our current landscape is 30% of Vermonters are on Medicaid, 30% of Vermonters are on Medicare, 30% are in Blue Cross, and then 10% are in various other healthcare. There's some smaller, Cigna, MVP. That's the current landscape for health insurance. For us to change something, though, we would need the support of the governor, and we would need that federal waiver. Governor Scott's very popular, including in Putney. I know the majority of Putney people voted for Governor Scott. I think what we need to do is talk to the legislature, but we also need to make the governor understand that this is a change that we want to have to take effect. And the other piece of it is we get an enormous amount of money I think $1.5 billion Vermont gets for Medicare, Medicaid, for Medicaid. That's a lot of money we would have to make up if we didn't get that waiver to make this kind of change. I support it. I support Medicare for all, and I support the idea that we make our views known. But those are the barriers against something like this happening, and why the healthcare committee hasn't taken this up.
Howard, you had your hand up earlier?
Thank you, Madam Moderator. Representative Moricky has just answered my questions.
Great. Anything else on this article? Karen?
So I just want to clarify for Ruby. Vermont Digger will be sending reporters to the following towns at town meeting: Brandon, Bristol, Cornwall, Middlebury, Putney, Ripton, Salisbury, and Weybridge.
Lady Jane. Recording in progress.
Yeah, we keep losing connection.
Okay. Anything else on this article? This brings us to the end of the articles. We do have some other issues, however. I'll read Article 12.
Madam Moderator, I suggest that we recess briefly until the operator says it's working again.
Can you hear me?
It is working, good.
It's working, yeah.
Because by law.
Because I can't hear anybody, there's been internet issues.
Yeah, we're back on now. There's some issue with the internet here.
Can people online hear?
Can you hear us, Jane?
Yes, I can hear you, but unfortunately I missed the entire discussion after sitting through the meeting for, the internet is not happening. So I can't address questions that were.
The questions that did come up, I think while you were off, were directed to existing or prior state legislatures, and so Mike presented an answer. And I know that's unsatisfying, and I'm trying to get the sense of the will of the people right now. We still have one other article, and then we have these non-binding. Any thoughts? Do we just keep going, plug along?
Let's continue.
Yeah, I
Let's
think,
continue?
I don't think if it's intermittent, it's intermittent. Yeah.
15 minutes, okay. So we're gonna continue for another 15 minutes. Thank you for the select board for agreeing to go a little bit later than 12 o'clock. Article 12 is to transact any other town business that may legally come before the annual town meeting. Intended to now go on to A. This is
You have a hand
under,
up?
what?
You have a hand up.
Oh, Howard.
Madam Moderator, to clarify Article 12, at Putney Town Meeting, we vote from the floor on every warrant article that is not decided by Australian ballot. But this Article 12, non-binding by Vermont law, is immediately followed by, quote, other non-binding for discussion purposes only, unquote. That is immediately followed by 4 questions, A through C, which read, should the select board, all of which are town business, and D, shall the voters of the town of Putney vote to, that is not town business. Do we or don't we vote on A through D is unclear, so therefore my question to you is, will we be voting on Article 12, questions A through D?
That's a very good parliamentary question. I have been wondering that myself, honestly. I think that, and this is in discussing with other town moderators how to answer this question, and I talked to Karen about this earlier. At the will of the voters, because the minute we start to move into this line, we're moving into a somewhat gray area, that after a limited time of discussion on these 3 A, B, C, I'm not going to discuss D yet, A, B, C, that I, or whoever is moderating it, I'm going to need to step out for letter C, will then say, can I get a motion from the floor? And this is a way to get some sense of the will of the people who happen to be there at that time. And then, because this again is going to be the decision of the select board for all of these items, and then it will go back. So that's what I'm proposing. Yes, Howard.
Madam Moderator, to continue on what I said, I've done the parliamentary research. The first words of Robert's Rules of Order are, a deliberative assembly is a group of people having or assuming freedom to act in concert, meeting to determine in full and free discussion courses of action to be taken in the name of the entire group. In any decision made, the opinion of each member present has equal weight as expressed by vote. We Putney Town Meeting voters therefore must and shall vote on Article 12, questions A through D, because voting at town meeting is so fundamental to our democracy that framers of Vermont's Constitution and laws saw no reason to say so. No one can take away our sovereign right to vote at our Putney Town Meeting.
So you're agreeing with what I just proposed?
I am, but I'm giving you the Robert's Rules of Order basis, which are
Okay,
the very,
that's good, I got the authority.
which are the very first words
Yeah.
of Robert's Rules of Order.
Yeah, and it was in the spirit of Robert, my dear friend, that I thought we got to get some way for there is going to be a motion. It'll be a motion that comes from the floor, and I'll ask for that. So that's the plan. I'm glad that Robert and Howard and I, and Benji, who will then come in next. Excellent. All right, can we move on to A? 12A, and I'm glad to have a heads up, and I'm going to describe what I just, the need for eventual motion from the floor for these three. A, should the select board continue to seek funding, to pursue capital fundraising for design development and full renovation of the Putney Town Hall building? Any questions on this A, 12A? Yes, Lionel.
How does this interface with our hazard mitigation plan and our town plan?
Sue, do you want to speak on that?
Yes. I can speak to the town plan specifically calls for the town hall renovation. You'll see it in the chapter on municipal facilities, as well as to look at the energy efficiency improvements of all municipal facilities, but the town hall is called out specifically as a project. In collaboration with the Putney Historical Society, so you'll read it that way, first page of the municipal services. Regarding the hazard mitigation plan, it is not specifically, to my knowledge, related to that. It is set as a separate type of planning. Most of the hazard mitigation planning relates to flooding and impacts to the town related to water damage, to some degree drought, but it's really more that than it is about protecting people, and the town hall is not seen as a place for people to take refuge during a flood. That's a different kind of plan. So I don't know of any relationship to the town hall renovation to the flood hazard mitigation plan, other than it's a place for civic discussion to develop and make those plans. And I would say right now, as chair of the planning commission, we do not have the facilities that support that kind of discussion. I hold planning commission meetings in various places because town hall really is not a good place to do that. It's not accessible for people and not big enough for the conversations we're having.
And this space is not sufficient?
It can be used sometimes, but this is used many evenings for training. So this is in service to our fire safety community. So we have used it from time to time, mostly on weekends, but not typically evenings.
And the second floor as well?
Second floor here is not useful right now, so that's another topic that we'll be talking about in a separate article. Should the second floor of this building, be made useful? So the first thing here is really just about the town hall renovation, which addresses a range of community needs, not so much the flood hazard mitigation plan.
Thank you.
Other questions on 12A? I don't see any other hands. I'm going to turn it to Howard. Howard, you got it.
Madam Moderator, behind our select board, we see plans for the renovation of Town Hall. We have already hired Vermont Integrated Architecture of Middlebury to make those plans. We have hired a project manager, the name of the firm escapes me at the moment, and we have hired an historic preservation consultant who is with us in the room, Lisa Papazian. So my question is, having got this far and the work is continuing, why do we even have this article? Isn't this a work in progress? Because otherwise, why are we second guessing this with Article 12A?
I can answer that. Yeah, so these three articles, and the reason that they're non-binding is that the select board does have the power to move forward on them. But specifically for A, should we move forward, there's most likely a bond vote in our future. So this is an attempt to get the Assembly's feelings about how much money we feel we can spend on town hall renovation, because we don't want to go into this process, get to the point where we have to have a bond vote and have people say, we didn't ask you to do that.
Any other questions? Anne?
Yeah, I'm just interested in the wording when it says seek funding to pursue capital fundraising. Are we talking about hiring someone to seek the fund to work on the bond issue if there is one? Or I don't understand it.
So,
Karen?
So this project, it's a partnership with the town of Putney and the Putney Historical Society. We are looking at a consultant to do a capital campaign fundraising, because when we started this, so Lisa Papazian, Sue Coakley, and I picked up the 2005 feasibility study. Back then, to renovate Town Hall, which is 155 years old, has had a lot of uses. Back then, it was $700,000. Our dream renovation project to have accessibility to the second floor for the Putney Historical Society, to have heat on the second floor, to have air conditioning on the second floor, to be energy resilient in that building, because, you know, the town offices, we need a home as well. Our dream project comes in at $3.8 million, folks. Okay? I'm not asking taxpayers to bond that money, because I would not have a job. So we have downscaled the project. We have wish lists on the side, and we're still coming to an agreement, because the objective is to make sure that the Historical Society has accessibility and the community for a gathering space for meetings. I just got the air report. It came in late last night, and it's not a positive report.
What is the report? Can you explain to people?
So it is, we had a consultant come down from Burlington. They did a clean air test, and there's mold in the building. We don't have clean air. Again, you know, there's no clean air exchange. There's, the place is not welcoming, it's not secure, it's not private. So this building has been like this for too long. And if we don't start putting money into the infrastructure that we have, because Article B, we're gonna have the same conversation, but we need to like put money into these buildings. So we're gonna work with hopefully a consultant that we will have a successful campaign. We've already brought grants in, folks, and we're looking at every single grant we can. So, you know, you have to have a lula up to the second floor.
So there is money in here for a consultant to help with additional fundraising that might be necessary, including a bond.
Yeah, we're not putting no money for this renovation, and we started in 2021, has come out of the budget. All right, this is money that we've obtained grants. We're not moving to the next step until we know we have the money to do it.
That's fair enough. I think it's a great
Yep.
project. I just didn't understand the wording of the motion.
Yeah.
I do now.
I've got two hands in the back for Sue and then Lisa.
So thank you, Karen, for that and for your leadership to make this happen, and to the select board for your support. What's really one of the important things about this article, at this juncture, is we are moving forward to do a whole lot more fundraising. We'll come in the fall about a bond. And it is my dearest hope that we can hit our wish list with a lot of fundraising. Lisa's smiling because, see, you're always so optimistic. But I am, and I know, unless you are optimistic and you go for it, that you don't find that money. And I believe that if we go right now with the will of the town saying, yes, this is important, we will raise a lot of money. We might get to our wish list without a bond that breaks the bank for the town. So I want you all to know that actually having the town weigh in at this juncture is important to our fundraising. So I just wanted to say that. And I think this is a really important thing for our community. I think so many people will benefit. It will raise us up. It's really part of economic development overall. It's making us feel very differently. And I do think the money is out there to really reduce the amount that we as a community have to pay. But it makes sense for us to pay something. This is an intergenerational investment, right? This is for the future. But I think if we have your support now, we have the community support today, we'll be much more successful in our fundraising. So we come for a bond vote, it'll be a lower amount than if we didn't.
Lisa, did you want to follow on that?
Well, Sue just said it very well, better than I could say it, and so did Karen. Thank you both. Thank you for your optimism. I'll just- but you're right, we're not gonna raise private money unless we really try. And the goal is, I mean, I'm speaking on behalf of the Historical Society, which is the tenant for the upstairs, which is not currently occupiable because of no heat, no access. We are throwing our efforts and our resources and my time in to help with this fundraising effort. Because, and in exchange, we want to share the upstairs as a great meeting space for the town, which it really needs, as everyone has said. And we are very cognizant of, yes, the wish list would make a great project and really make the building sing and work on many levels for everybody. But we're very cognizant of how much it's reasonable to come to the voters for in terms of a bond. And having the sense of the town that this is important for the long haul, for the investment in our incredible resource. And as an example of how to reuse in a downtown, a historic resource that's tired. Having the sense of the town support or not support is really important at this juncture. Whether we pay a consultant and put a lot of more of our own time into it.
So because we're almost at 12:15, and I know we have a couple other items, I'm tempted to, can we push this discussion to 12B?
Yes.
12B, can we talk about 12B? Let me just read 12B. The select board seek funding to finish the second floor of the fire station, including but not limited to interior improvements, utility installation, construction of exterior staircase, and other related items. Anybody have any questions on this one? Howard?
I'll just mention that we are sitting on land leased from the state of Vermont. And referring to an email conversation that our town manager and I have had, it seems that the lease is up for renewal at present.
Yep. Yes.
And I'm going to put out there something that our town manager is aware of is the state is not getting very much money for this. This is simply land that was left over from when they bought the land for the interstate some 50 or 60 years ago. So it may be possible that they are willing to say, for a nominal amount, we'll sell you the land, or we'll sell you the land for the lease payments you've already made plus $1. In other words, we may be able to take care of that very easily. So not only do we own the building, but we own the land underneath, which at the moment is considered to be somewhat worrisome.
So put that on for the select board to consider. Any other questions on 12B? Okay, it looks like we can move to, oh, yes.
The one complicating factor is the park and ride.
Yes.
That parking lot is, the state isn't just going to give that up, I don't think, so.
Well, one might subdivide the real estate. of
Yeah,
course.
that becomes another whole issue, but yeah, it's kind of a rat's nest, but.
Yes.
Ruby's got a hand up?
Is there any indication that the select board has heard that, with the lease renewal, that there's, is there any thought that that wouldn't be continued?
So the state, sorry, go ahead, you're the one that created the lease.
Yeah.
The lease renewal is a disaster, because the lease was a disaster. The lease says that if for any reason, either we abandon the property or the state for some reason decides to take it back, they get this building.
Yeah.
So it's nuts. That lease, it was a hatchet job on a standard commercial lease that the state uses. It didn't contemplate the ground being separate from the building. So at the select board's urging, I rewrote the lease and we sent it off to them as a proposal. The silence has been deafening. My proposal to them was basically that we treat it sort of like a land trust would treat, where the ownership of the building is separate from the ownership of the property. That leaves you with a conundrum if for any reason the relationship does end. What I put into the proposal was that they would pay us the fair market value. We'd remove all our property and fixtures from the building and they would pay us the fair market value of the structure. That may account to some degree for the silence, I don't know. I really think it's just been a matter of, it's not anybody's priority up there. It's currently sitting, I think, in the commissioner's office at the Agency of Transportation, but we're not having a lot of luck getting it moving.
Karen?
So there is development. I have been in touch, well, we have, Fletcher. The commissioner has responded. So that is moving forward. It's with the ATG's office, so they do have comments. And so, yeah, so I'm expecting them to contact the town, probably after town meeting. But I've been on them quite a bit. It's like, where are we at? So again, that is moving forward. They have been slow to respond. I did reach out to a state representative and they lit the fire. So there is communication right now.
It is worth noting that the lease expired almost a year ago, I think, wasn't it?
That is-
April of last year?
Yes, you are correct.
And so the foot dragging has gotten to an extreme.
The other thing I want to say was,
Speak up, I didn't hear that.
sorry.
Oh, the lease here actually expired last April.
Any other sorry.
We're holdover tenants at this point.
Any other question, and we could do our voices higher, that would be really helpful. I know we're getting towards the end. On 12B, I'm going to turn it over to Fletcher, who's going to finish up the meeting. I have a conflict of interest on 12C, and I'm going to sit down. Take it away, Fletcher.
I guess I need to stand up in order to be able to see folks. So 12C, should the select board sell or transfer the Putney Town Forest, Putney parcel 060101 containing 49 acres, and Brookline parcel 06002.000 containing 85 acres to the Putney Mountain Association, a 501c3 nonprofit. And Ann Carey would like to speak to the article.
Yes, this is coming again from the Conservation Commission. It's a suggestion that the Putney Mountain Association, which has been managing and creating new trails and creating a parking lot and a kiosk and does programs on Putney Mountain Summit, which it owns, for 80 years. It's having its 80th birthday. And I just want to clarify first, because I've been talking to some people about the town forest, and some of them are saying to me, oh, the land behind the school. No. If you drive up Putney Mountain Road, because you want to go up to the Putney Mountain Summit, you've got an ample parking area, and there's a loop trail. There's a Russ Cliff Trail and a trail back down. That land, which is, as I say, been managed for 80 years by the Putney Mountain Association, is the town forest. And I have to say, as head of the Conservation Commission, that we have not done a lick of work up there. Putney Mountain has assumed the full responsibility, and Billy Fitzgerald is a long-term volunteer on the Parkman Wood Trail and other things that they do there. He can speak more fully to their work over time. But the Conservation Commission also put together a list with some help. And it also has a map of the trail systems that are connected through the town forest, because Putney Mountain has been working on gathering more land, and there's now a trail that runs from Prospect Hill and Dummerston all the way up to Grafton, Lily Pond, and up that way. So that's an incredible trail system, and it's very well known by the state. It may be known nationally. And the people who come through the village and sometimes buy something or get a cup of coffee or a lunch or whatever, it's a tourist attraction. Now, it's so big that it's a tourist attraction. The other thing is Putney Mountain continues to have incredible relationships with funding sources so that the land can be maintained. And then the other thing I'd like to say is sort of the town link to the town forest, because there have been a number of town meeting votes over the years regarding the town forest. And these are, like there was a motion that 2/3 vote of town meeting is required to take any lumber, commercial lumber, out of the forest. People were very concerned when the town first logged off half of the forest without asking them. And in 1998, the town meeting wanted a conservation easement in perpetuity on the line, on the land, which would be held by Vermont Land Trust. And then a year later, the town meeting rescinded that vote. So that was up and down. But when they rescinded that vote, they directed the select board to hold and conserve the entire forest for recreation and wildlife protection. So there's been a continuity of equivalent goals for this land between the town and Putney Mountain Association over time. The other, and I think we should just say, yes, we think they're doing a great job. We could put deed restrictions or work with them on after they own the property, have participation in a conservation easement to make sure we get what we want, how that works out. But we really think it's time to say, yes, we want this land used in this way in perpetuity. There may be other things the land might be good for, and we have done, the town, especially Karen, has really facilitated doing due diligence and looking into other things that could be done, including timber harvest and so on. So I really think it's time. And it's a whole series of town meeting votes over time confirming the same idea. The only other thing I will say is that this doesn't cost us any money. In fact, we currently pay, on the 85 acres of town forest located in Brookline, we pay taxes. The town of Putney pays taxes. There's an agreement, it's not much, it's $2,600. And the other thing you should know is that Putney Mountain Association has a conservation they're under use value Hell,
Current
yeah.
use.
They're in current use as a conservation group. And there's only one or two other conservation organizations that this is true of. So Putney Mountain will pay taxes on the Putney portion if they do acquire it. And the Conservation Commission thinks this should be a birthday gift. That's our opinion.
Yes, Robin?
And how do you anticipate this working with Brookline? Have you thought through that process as well, with their portion of the parcel?
What about Brookline?
Yeah.
We own the land.
Yeah.
We own the land, we can do with it what we want. What will have to happen is, the road crew, our highway department, currently maintains some roads in Brookline. And it's just happened over time that the amount of money paid by Brookline for that road work is very similar to the taxes that we pay to Brookline. So if this goes through, the highway department will have to negotiate with Brookline regarding payment. Yeah, for that road work.
But you already own that parcel.
You do.
The town owns that
The town
parcel.
owns it, we do it, we own it.
I see. Okay.
It's 134 acres total, of which 49 acres are in Putney, and then 85 acres are in Brookline. And that happened because of a readjustment of the town line. And Lisa, I don't know the history of that one, but.
Don't put me on the spot.
Yeah,
It was a long time ago.
There was some kind of
Well,
border dispute, and we ended up with some property in Brookline.
This is also extremely important wildlife habitat and connectivity, and relates to major corridors through the state.
I don't know who was first, but I'll start with Ruby and then go to Howard.
This is kind of just point of information and clarity. So you're talking about this proposal and this article has to do with the acreage that the town of Putney currently owns and is in Putney, but not, or is it?
The whole 134 acre parcel, no matter what town it's in.
Okay.
The whole thing. And
But-
that relieves us of the
tax
the
burden.
part that we pay taxes on.
Okay.
That's located in Brookline.
Thank you.
Howard?
You want me to speak to this?
Well, he's the moderator, for sure.
Am I missing someone?
I haven't raised my hand, but Karen wants me to raise it.
Yeah, Jordy should speak.
Yeah, I
Well,
can,
okay, something pertinent?
Yeah, so I was on the Putney Mountain Board for several years, and we looked pretty seriously into approaching the select board and having Putney Mountain take over the property. And there were a lot of discussions with Karen and a lot. My determination, I don't even remember if it went to the full board, was that that's not a good idea. We had a really, really good working relationship with the town. We found it quite productive to have that relationship with the town. And I had seen the 2/3 vote, I hadn't seen the other votes that Ann mentioned, that maybe take it down to a 50-50 vote. But the likelihood of have it become other than it is I think pretty low. The Putney Mountain has managed the property for my entire life. And it's been, I graduated from grammar school at the sheepback ledge right above the parking lot, so it was town property and the school used it. So I guess I'm speaking in favor of the town keeping it. I think it's an important thing for the town to have. Doesn't impact Putney Mountain's use of it at all. That's where I sit on this.
And back to you, Howard, at last.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. As the discussion has been ongoing here, I feel the impression is being created that we are actually at town meeting going to be deciding that the select board should sell or transfer. So I take the liberty of reminding the meeting that we are under Article 12 to transact any other town business, which by Vermont law, I believe it's 17 VSA 2658, everything that is discussed under any other town business is by law non-binding, quote, and the moderator shall so rule. So all we're talking about here is a straw poll.
That's exactly what it is. Further discussion on the article? Yes?
I'd like to know why the town moderator withdrew herself from this, what the conflict is, and I'd also like to know if Jordy is conflicted in any way by virtue of perhaps being in a butter. I'm not sure if you are.
I will say that.
I'm no longer on the board.
But do you live up there?
Up there being Westville, yes.
Up on the
I have to walk a mile or so to get to Putney Mountain property, or town property.
Yeah.
And I stepped down because I'm the chair of the Putney Mountain Association.
Oh, I see.
So that's a pretty clear conflict of interest.
Yep. I see, yes. Will you be able to speak to this on Tuesday?
I'm gonna be in the same position I am right now. Next year, I'm gonna have a lot to say, or the day after town meeting. I'm kind of a zombie.
Billy's here representing the Putney Mountains.
Oh, I see, great.
I will say that I don't know that it is required that somebody state what their conflict is, simply that they have a conflict.
That's right.
And we have to trust them as to that. Yes, Lisa?
Oh, sorry to put you on the spot, Jordy, but could you explain again why you think the town should hold on to it?
I felt that having them as a partner was useful to us in getting grants for several projects up there from Vermont Human Conservation Corps. And that it was nice to have them be with us, and we had the letter of support and so forth from them for projects that we did.
But that could continue if they owned it as well.
Well, it wouldn't be the town saying, we own this and we think this is a really good idea.
Yes, Mr. Fitzgerald, we haven't heard from you.
Putney Mountain Association owns a lot of the land to the north and the south. This is one particular piece of property that we don't have a conservation easement on. Our part of our thing is to create a wildlife corridor and open up as much land to wildlife as we can we're working from Dummerston up through Putney, and we own land in Westminster also. The only difference that it would make to the town would be that the Putney Mountain Association would be now paying taxes on that piece of property, and that we would put a conservation easement in perpetuity so that nothing could ever happen to that property. As somebody mentioned before, it once was logged, and something like that could happen again with the vote from the town. But Putney Mountain Association owning that piece of property, nothing like that could ever happen. It's not an inexpensive proposition to put a conservation easement on that property. It's in upwards of, between closing costs and the easement, would be well over $20,000. So for us, it's not going to change much if we own it or we don't own it. We've been maintaining that for 80 years now. Last year, we put in a new trail up to the summit at a cost of $46,000, which we had grants for and volunteer labor and donations from the community. So it all benefits the town and the community and the wildlife to have a conservation easement on that. And we're going to, regardless of what happens, we're going to still maintain that property.
Ann, yes.
Yeah, at town meeting, we'll have a big 2x3 map of this, but it didn't work out. Tom Hinkle's working on that. He's gonna present at town meeting. Can this be on the? Does it work at all? Okay, anyway, the town forest is right smack, right there. One finger, right there. But guys, everybody has to look at the screen, not me. Right there. From Putney Town Forest south, it goes all the way to Prospect Hill and Dummerston. And going north, it goes all the way up to Grafton, if you include the Pinnacle land as well as the Putney Mountain land. And if anything else happened to this area other than what's happening now, then this trail system is broken. And who knows what absolute intense pressures might come on the town where they can sell a lot on Banning Road and we can have another add to the more than 10 houses that already line Banning Road to get the ridgeline views. So anyway, I think it's just would be a really good reassurance, and we really know from past experience with Putney Mountain Association that they'll continue to really do a good job up there. And so anyway, we can have a bigger picture of this at some other time, but it's a real break. And then people are gonna go to Dummerston or up to the Pinnacle parking lot, not necessarily through Putney, to access this incredible trail system. And also, you can see Banning Road is white, right above the town forest. That's because those are, that's not forest, that's housing along Banning Road. So you do start to get a break in the wildlife continuity as well. That's all.
Fletcher,
Yes.
you have a hand up over here. On Zoom.
On Zoom. Who do we have on Zoom?
Heather Small.
Good. Yes, Heather.
Thank you. I just wanted to take this moment to remind folks that we've already sold or transferred town property twice before, and it hasn't really worked out in our favor. The first one being the school forest, the second one being the fire department both. Thank you.
Further discussion on the town forest. Yes, Robin.
Karen, I'm sorry to put you on the spot, but may I ask you your opinion on this as town manager?
Does one of the select board wanna?
We don't know your opinion.
What's your opinion?
I'd rather, you really want?
I mean, I think,
Right.
to protect Karen a little bit, I think,
I don't need
I'm not sure
protection.
it's really, it doesn't really necessarily matter what Karen's opinion is, because at the end of the day, this would be a select board vote to transfer or not to transfer this land, and, the board here may be amenable to it this year, a future board may not. So, I mean, we're the ones, these individuals right here, our opinions are probably more important than Karen's.
Well, I wouldn't go that far.
Well,
Yes, you may. So as the finance director, and the town manager, frankly, I don't ever see that property being developed in any way, shape, or form. For me, the priority is recreation, and that is a $500,000 asset to the town. So when I look at our assets, which were, I don't know, over 7 million, that's a big piece. And my goal, again, is to work with the planning commission and do a comprehensive recreational study. That piece of land is part of that study. So if we're gonna connect recreation, we need to be looking at that piece as well.
do you want to poll us?
Mr. Chairman?
Mr. Moderator, I have a reason why we might want to have a conservation easement on the property, and it is proposed wind turbines up there. I'm one of the people who helped to scotch the proposal for the wind turbines on the ridgeline between Grafton and Winhall. And I can tell you, when these people come in, they are all set to convince you that your town's gonna make a lot of money because we put our 50-story wind turbines up there. That's what was proposed up there, and there were various ways that a bunch of us, there were a whole bunch of us, and we shot it down because you don't see any turbines up there. But the idea is to foreclose the possibility. So there is a reason to perhaps get a conservation easement on it, and I believe the town cannot have a conservation easement.
Yeah, I would like to just remind us all that this conversation will happen on Tuesday, I am sure. So I would like us to call it quits now because we're way over our time limit.
And the remaining article is Jeanette's, and I had agreed to pick up moderating that. Jeanette, do you want to get into it? Or?
No, I don't think I need to.
No.
You can read it and I'll talk to it at town meeting.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Can I hear a motion to adjourn?
Second. A motion.
Seconded.
So moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thanks.